Hey, hello there. In this video I'm going to talk about 6 additions to the essential nodes. Last time we talked about the other ones, and now we have I also have the spiral. It was already in the other one, but I didn't explain it fully. Here we have all the collections where you can find all of these tools, and here in the asset library I made all the nodes an asset. As you can see here, the little book icon makes it an asset, so you can drag it in to all your own Blender files, and you get this nice menu with the icons. And let's see what this one does. This is the spiral or unroll spiral. And here you can set how you want to use this. So you can set the resolution, change it. We can set the length. So I'm making the curve longer and then it rotates more. You can set where you want the start radius to be and the end radius. And you can also unroll it with this one. Now these nodes are making it thicker, so it makes it a tube, so you see it better. And also here you can also do it from rotations. So you can say I want to rotate it, and it doesn't know the exact length, but it does it by the rotations. Here you also have a start radius and an end radius, so you can determine how big the roll is going to be. So that is the unroll curve, and here we have a morph, and what it does, it takes one geometry and morphs it into another geometry. So if we go in here, this one is a sphere, and here we have an icosphere, and it morphs between the two. So if I put this in here, then I'm also shading it smooth and giving it this red material. I have the vector here, and I go from sphere to an icosphere, or UV sphere. Here's the UV sphere to an icosphere. So we can morph between these two. And what I found with this one, if you need a rounded shape, as long as it's I think a convex shape, so there is no hollow spaces or extra geometry in between. And what I mean by that is that it's just basic faces like this one, or it works on the cylinder and it works on the tube. You can use the UV sphere as a base and then use this morphing to give everything nice bevels. It's not a perfect geometry bevel, because you see some triangles here, because it's trying to interpolate these points from one mesh to another, but it works quite nicely if you need a quick beveled object. So here I can determine how big the bevel is, and you can even set the resolution by setting the resolution of the UV sphere. And if I plug in the cylinder, you see with smooth shading it works quite well, and also with the cube and setting the amount of, or the radius of this bevel. So that's what you can do with the morph object. I can show you how this works. It's very simple. You take a sample nearest, and then you get the index of the nearest point of the geometry, and then you sample the position, and then you mix the position, these two positions, by a factor, and then you set the position of the other mesh that comes in. Very simple. I can also show you the spiral. I have a whole tutorial on how to build it. It's a little bit more complex. This is the roll spiral. You can make a screenshot and build it yourself. And this is the basic one. And here there's a node before it that changes the length or the rotations to the length input. and I do it by these nodes. So if you want to build it yourself, you can do it, but you can also get it in the Essential bundle. The next one is the 3D grid. So here I have a grid which is three-dimensional. You can already make a cube like this. So let's go in here and then take the cube. Not a belt curve, I need a cube. Cube, just a regular cube like this. And here you see it has a lot of geometry, but inside it's hollow, so it's not a 3D structure. And with this one it becomes a 3D structure, so there are also faces inside. Let me zoom out and do ghost view. Here you can see there are also edges in between, and if I make more subdivisions they will appear as well. So here if I do this, here you see that there are also all these instances in between. And what I also do is that I make the normal so that everything is calculated from the middle, so all the normals are facing outward. So if you would delete this face, I can do that, so you can have a look. Face orientation, you can see I have an X, Y, Z selection node, and I use a delete node, and then use face and delete all the Z faces. Here you can see that this is facing outward, and here they're also facing outward. This is right in the middle, so it has to choose for going left or right. But if I give them all one more, then there is no middle one, and you see 1, 2, and here 1, 2, they are facing outward. Everything is facing outward. So, and you can project anything onto it or make all kinds of 3D structures. So let's go back, Command Z. So there are no extra nodes in here when I export it. So this is the 3D grid, and then next we have the stack array, and here you can see that this is the simple stack. So I have 3 stacks here, and it's using instances. You can also use collections. So if you make collections here with different objects, you can input them here. I can show you collections. Just put a collection here, and it takes all the objects, and you can make a random stack with it. There's also in Blender 5.0 a new array node and modifier, and that's probably gonna replace this one. But for the lower versions you can still use this simple stack array. Here you have the rotation seed, so it rotates everything by 90 degrees. You can set here if you want it 45 degrees. You see that they all go in steps of 45. So you can make a kind of tower elements and stack them and rotate them in the way that you want to create all kinds of stacks. Or you can make a book or a pile of papers and then stack them in this way, because it knows how high every object is and stacks everything accordingly. So all your objects don't have to be the same height for it to stack properly. So this is the simple stack. Let's put this to 0 and this one back to 90. You also have an object distance, so you can give it a bit more distance if you need to. Yeah, we leave this at instances. I can also show you what's going on in here. These are the nodes. So this is creating the bounding box, and here it's setting the positions, and here I do the random rotations. And if we go into this node, here you can see, let's grab this one. This is an index, this as well, and these are some extra nodes. This is what you can build. There's nothing here, it's just an absolute if you want to create it yourself. Then we have the advanced stack array, and with this one you can set a lower portion, a mid portion and a top portion. And here you can see I have a cube for the top, a torus for the middle and a cylinder for the bottom. This one has moved. And you can, by inputting it here, I use instances. I can also use collections, so I can put whole collections in here, the same as the other one. And then I can say the distance between the segments. I can set the rotation seed. I can set how much I want them to rotate every step, and do that for the bottom part, the middle part and the top part. Also, when you create random pillars, for example, you can make different bases and determine the bottom. You can make mid sections and make a random rotations on the mid sections and different top sections. So you have control over if you want to make random stacks to create a pillar or a building with a roof and a base, or a kind of skyscraper with different elements in it. You can do it with the advanced stack array. And it works in the same way as the other one, but it has copies for the bottom, mid and top section. As you can see here, this is the bottom bounding box. This is the middle bounding box. And here I rotate the instances. Also here, and then this is the top bounding box. Here are they combined, and here is the instance rotations again. And then this one is the same as the other one. So you can copy this and build it yourself. And then here, this is the last one, which is the random instance material. So I find myself creating like random patterns a lot, and I want to interchange these materials and determine how much you want to see of one color and then how much of the other color. And you can do that now with the random instance material. And it was already in the selection pack, index selection pack, but now it's also here improved. And you can set the amount of materials that you want to use. So here it's using 2 materials, and I can set the probability. So I want more of one and less of the other, or the other way around. And the seed to change the randomness. And here I can say 3 materials. Now it's up to 4 materials, but I'm going to add more in the future. I usually, when I create something random, not use more than 4 materials. So that's why I kept it like this now. And then you can also use mesh islands. So sometimes I create a lot of objects and I want to give all the mesh islands different materials, and then you also have this option for mesh islands. You can set the materials here, and also here the probability for how much you want to see of one or the other. It's quite easy to control. For the mesh islands, so what's coming out of here are instances. If you realize the instances, they are all separate meshes, and then the mesh islands work. So every separate mesh is a mesh island, and then this one works. So, but I will leave this as instances, and I can go into it also. This is basically what happens. I use a random value with a boolean, and I use the index as an ID, and then separate the geometry and give both of these outputs a different color. And then I'm doing it again and doing it again for 3 or 4 materials. And this is for instances, and here I set it up for meshes, and I use the mesh island index to do the same thing. and with the menu switch I switch between the two, so you can choose which one to use. So this is the addition to the essential nodes. I'll be working on more and adding them, and I hope this is useful, and I hope to see you in the next one. Okay, bye!